we do have definitive proof that we are not alone. We have bodies, we have materials. They're going to have to cough up some of that evidence because the scientific community is not going to just believe them because somebody is, let's just say they do want to weaponize this technology. I imagine they would. That's what they do, right? You're going to have to share this technology with the rest of the world to prove, like, because you're going to make this statement, but then you need to back it up with some proof.
Yeah.
How are you going to go about sharing that technology with the rest of the world without, like, giving it up, right? So it's a complex issue.
So welcome back, family. Today we have not one but two incredible guests. We have James Fox, the filmmaker behind The Phenomenon and Moment of Contact, and Jason Sands, an insider with deep knowledge of UFO research, government secrecy, and hidden agendas. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Thanks for having me on.
Wow. You know, we covered so much incredible information today. It's a wealth of knowledge, and I think that people who watch those previous episodes with yourself, Jason, and you, James, are going to learn that we are the ones bringing disclosure. And I think it's important for people to understand, like we talked earlier, that disclosure is going to come from the people. And what are your feelings on that?
Well, I think that it's really easy for people to sit on the sidelines and criticize potentially. You know, I know that for the most part, he's had wide support. Mr. Sands has sacrificed a lot coming forward. Really nothing to gain and everything to lose, you know, with his 22-year career serving the country. And that if even 20% of what he's saying is true, the implications are so profound, we owe it to ourselves as part of the human race to follow this process through and push for transparency and find out what the government really knows.
Right. For the people who are just really finally catching on to this UFO disclosure, why do you think it's taken so long?
I think that after two consecutive weekends in 1952, where the United States Capitol was buzzed by UFOs, now referred to as UAP, they had a panel called the Robertson Panel that basically gave advice through the CIA to the Air Force. Look, you can't deny the phenomenon. It's right there in plain sight. However, we can adopt a policy of ridicule. And I think that policy was an extremely effective one. And that stuck for a long, long time. Like, ask yourself, what's funny about a pilot describing something exhibiting technology that's light years advanced, right? Like, we normally would take these accounts seriously coming from the sources. But I think that stigma is changing. There are more people coming forward. There's policy being written, legislation being passed to protect whistleblowers like Mr. Sands, and to encourage other witnesses to come forward. And we're experiencing an unprecedented moment in history where this is drip, drip, drip. Disclosure is happening. It's no longer a pie in the sky idea. We are experiencing, you know, disclosure. We've had 3 open congressional hearings, in front of a bipartisan group of lawmakers, where you had people testify under oath. There are consequences to lying to Congress under oath, that not only the phenomenon is real, but that we have a crash retrieval program, bodies, and materials. Pretty significant implications if true, and obviously I think they're true. So it's incredible.
And so, Jason, with you, I know that we talked a little earlier about, you know, your credibility and some vetting. Can you just explain to the viewers and listeners a little bit about your background in the military?
Yes. When it comes to the integrity of their people that they hand out the clearances to, it's very restricted knowledge just to know who's got the clearances sometimes. But it's also not easy to get through all the wickets because they do dig up, you know, your past, all your, you know, if you got criminal records, they'll go through all that, your school, everything. I also had other levels of my clearances that I had to get polygraphs for, both counter intel and full scope. Those are the 2 types. I've had both. So yeah, it's not something you just walk into.
Right.
It's something they kind of see in you, and then they offer up the next few steps. So what I did, I don't know. I've always thought of myself as being kind of a normal guy. But I do admit that I've probably got some analytical, skills, and that maybe caught their eye. But other than that, the integrity that you got to maintain. And then you've got, for me, I've held my clearance ever since I was given one.
Yeah.
And just recently, that was something that I ran into a problem with after my last job.
Right.
So those are the kind of things, though, that you can expect when you're in the military and you hold a clearance.
Right.
I had a quick question. Mr. Sands, why are you coming forward and why do you consider it significant? In other words, why are you putting your neck out?
That is a tough question, but it has a lot to do with who I am and what this is really all about for mankind. To me, what I experienced on the one hand was that, yes, there's national security involved, but there's a part of this that if we're not alone, to me, that is a sacred ground that is involved with all of humanity, that part has never been classified to my knowledge, and that believing whether we're alone or not is up to every man, woman, and child on the face of the earth. And that's one of the big things that I always harp on, is that when I have a core value like that inside my life, that's what drives me sometimes. And that's why one of the big reasons is that I'm doing this for the people. I'm doing this to give them a place to go to talk to folks. That's why I went to the people first. I didn't do all the big media channels. I just wanted to try something new to add to what the other guys were doing, because they're doing great work. And I just wanted to reach out to the people. And the response seems to be that people are ready for this disclosure.
Yeah.
And I feel that too. And it's really encouraging me, and it's hopefully encouraging people.
Absolutely. And have you made $1 million doing this?
No, I've actually lost everything.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to scare anybody or anything, but I'm okay.
Right.
Been getting by. But no, it's not an easy path. I mean, and hopefully I'm going to be part of the first generation of whistleblowers that makes it better for the next generation, that they don't have to go through the same repercussions I did, or David Grush did, or Lou Elizondo, or any of the other great names that you can come up with. So yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for sharing that and being transparent. Yeah, I know how hard it can be. So James, you've gone and talked to a lot of incredible high-level people. How in the world did you get into these rooms?
It's so funny. There's been a handful of times in my career, and I'm about as Joe Public as you could possibly get, right? Yeah. I'm not an intelligence background, an academic, scientific background, military background, none of the above. I was just somebody who was just hyper curious about what's going on. What's the bigger picture? What are people seeing? And, and I did one documentary thinking I'm never going to do another one. And then that led to another one, which led to another one, which led to another one, which led to another one. And then suddenly I found myself sort of not on the inside, but certainly poking around. And then I realized that, as you were saying earlier, disclosure is going to come from we the people. Like it's going to come from us, our efforts, right? People like him coming forward, people like stuff that you're doing, documentaries that I'm doing. And I've had the government say that to me. I mean, I found myself in with the new head of Arrow, Dr. John Kosklowski, and he's basically saying, look, I can't, regardless of my research, where my research leads to, if I come to the conclusion that a small percentage of UAP or UFOs originate from a non-human intelligence, my hands are tied. I can't even part my hair without the DOD's approval. Right. So he's basically saying, like, it's kind of, we're rooting for the people on the outside to help get this information out. And people say, why now? I say that it wasn't like the government had a sudden epiphany in 2017 and decided, hey, you know what? We need to be more transparent on this UAP issue. It was a couple of insiders that protested, that resigned, stepped down because of excessive secrecy, what they believed was excessive secrecy. Found a loophole, walked some evidence literally out of the Pentagon and onto the front page of the New York Times. And since then, they have not been able to put the genie back in the bottle. So it's coming out.
It seems as if they've been lying to us for a very long time.
Oh, really?
Right. So,
what a surprise.
What was your first clue?
So it's like it's like the trail of lies is so long that we wonder, the average person's wondering, like, when will they ever just release the information? They're only going to dribble it and like say, drip, drip, drip the information, because the lie trail is just so long that the American people, even the people of the world, will say, man, you told so many lies. We can't believe anything you say now, which is probably why they're trying to, wrestle in the control of the narrative.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons I came to the people first, is because, you get away out of that environment to where it's an honest discussion. Finally, where I think in my mind of minds, what we're really trying to get the DoD to do is to come clean, and just say what they should have said that, we've been holding this back from you guys, and that's what we're really trying to get to, is that I talk to the people, they're okay with this. Is that going to help you guys in the DoD to understand that we're not living in the McCarthy era anymore, and that we could get past this, and everybody will be better off for it. Yeah. Even the people in the program will be better for it, because they're able to sell some of the patents for meaningful things that they have tech on, medicines. I mean, imagine what we might be able to do with that, or energy production.
Right.
All of that.
I was talking to Leslie Kane, who's one of the leading journalists on this. She was one of the contributing editors or authors to the New York Times story that broke the secret Pentagon UFO program in December of 2017. And I never really thought about all the different complexities to, let's say, disclosure. I'll call it disclosure.
Yeah.
But we were talking about it, and she's like, "Well, James, and I explored some of that in the program, like." You don't think, you think it's so easy, like just a government official just comes forward and says, yeah, all right, we're not alone. But I'll remind the audience, like, it has implications for all of humanity, not just the United States.
Yeah.
So if you got government leaders within the United States, they have to take into account, they're going to make some statements that are going to reverberate around the world, right? So if you're going to come forward and say, all right, we're coming clean here. We do have definitive proof that we are not alone. We have bodies, we have materials. They're going to have to cough up some of that evidence, because the scientific community is not going to just believe them because somebody is standing at the podium. Right. So now suddenly they're in this situation where, let's just say they do want to weaponize this technology. I would imagine they would. That's what they do, right? So now they're going to have to share this technology with the rest of the world to prove, like, because you're going to make this statement, but then you need to back it up with some proof.
Yeah.
How are you going to go about sharing that technology with the rest of the world without, like, giving it up, right? So it's a complex issue. Yeah. It's and just like you were saying, some of the materials are probably going to have to be national security and classified. But the fact that we're not alone, every man, woman, and child is entitled to that reality.
Yeah, absolutely. Either one of you, do you think that there is some level of security needed on some of the technology that could be privy to us by some of these advanced races?
Well, let's put it this way. Let's just suspend judgment for a moment and just assume that it's all true.
Yeah.
That we have bodies, we have technology. And one of the things that we know within the phenomenon is that, and this dating back since recorded history, but certainly the modern UFO wave from the 30s up to today, the observed technology flies rings around our fastest jets. I mean, just talk to David Fravor, 2004 off the coast of San Diego, the Tic Tac incident. That object just made a mockery of one of the fastest jets within the Navy. Let's just imagine that we do have that technology, and that, let's just say that it got into the hands of one of our adversaries, Russia or China, who knows, and they could weaponize it. They put a nuke on that. I mean, that's a serious concern. I mean, that concerns me.
I agree.
So I think the national security issue is a real issue. I think there is a legitimate reason to try to keep that technology out of the hands of people that might want to do us harm, that might want to weaponize the technology. It's unfortunate that that's a reality, but it is. It's the world we live in.
Yeah.
So I understand that. So it's a very complex issue, and we'll see how they deal with it.
Yeah. It's complex because obviously if they get their hands on it, the wrong person or the wrong government, they can do damage to somebody or some civilization or some city.
Absolutely.
With ease.
Yeah. And the other side of the threat issue is the fact that not everything is a threat either. And that's what I've experienced. And I wish that I can articulate better, but it involves other things that I can't speak to. But I can tell you that if you look at the two sides, that yes, there's the weaponization because we do have threats. There's another side to the technology that is nothing about threats. It's about actually helping mankind.
Right.
And that's the part that I think we can agree on as a team, everybody, including the DoD and the Black program, that let's get to a better spot.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. So there are some concerns that tech could be used for the wrong purposes in the wrong hands, unfortunately, because human beings tend to make bad decisions at high levels of power. But there is a lot of great and a lot of phenomenal things that can come out of this technology that can change and transform the world literally overnight.
Not whizzing around using Jet A fuel, that's for sure.
No, I know. Combustion engine.
Right.
I mean, every time I get on a 40-hour flight to fly to Asia, like Cambodia, I'm like, what are we doing? I mean, like, really, what are we doing?
Antiquated.
Oh, man, it's painful.
I know.
I fly to Egypt all the time. It's, another 25, 27 hours. You fly here, and it's like, what are we doing? It takes you a whole day to get to doggone California from here. Yep. I mean, come on. And it's just like, when are we going to shift out of this ancient way? This is really ancient. I mean, the ancients were more advanced than this.
Yeah, way more.
Way more. I mean, come on, this has got to change. So, but what do you think will happen? I'll ask you first, Jason. What do you think is going to happen when this information is accepted by the general population? What will happen economically? What do you think will happen spiritually, religious-wise?
Well, if it's done without bipartisanship or the other countries coming forward at the same time, there may be some wrinkles in the plan to come forward with everything, because if Russia doesn't come clean, because of course they've been dealing with reverse engineering too. China, likewise. This should be something that unifies us. However, we do have some very deep political and even cultural differences around the world. So that's one of the things I see coming, is that we're going to have to think our way through that piece. But we're smart enough to get around that. And I'm sure that the one basic thing that Russia, China, and we would all agree, and all of our allies, is that this technology is coming from off-world. So it has nothing to do with any of us. This is about a gift that we kind of have just waiting there. And that's kind of where we can probably find some common ground, because we find common ground in a lot of things internationally. It's like everybody doesn't like to see child trafficking. We get along in that. This is another place where I think it's similar, where this is something everybody can benefit from. Why not work together instead of just one person taking the lead and the other people feeling like, oh, now that's another threat that we got to deal with. Now we got to deal with America coming out first with this tech. We got to be careful about that.
Yeah. What do you feel, James? It's gonna.
I feel like reality is reality, and lying to us is not going to take reality away. Like, reality is reality. Whatever's happening is what's happening. And I'm quite honestly, I'm kind of tired of being lied to. So I'm ready for it. Despite the implications, I think that the cons are going to be a lot fewer than the pros. In my humble opinion. Now, I'm sure there's some complexities that I haven't taken into consideration. Fair enough. But for the most part, I think we are all entitled to the truth, every man, woman, and child on this planet. And I think it would have an incredibly unifying effect on all of us.
Right. I'd also end with that as well, that the thought there is, imagine what it would be if the NHI wanted to participate with us to make this a little bit better of a transition time.
Right.
But that's up to them to participate or not.
Right.
So,
and NHI meaning non-human intelligence.
Correct.
Right.
The others that are, or the other civilization, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
I've often wondered, and call me crazy, but I've often wondered, like, as our collective consciousness grows more aware of their presence, is there a possibility that they would be more inclined to reveal themselves more overtly because of our climbing awareness of their presence? I don't know. Sometimes I feel like yes.
Yeah, I believe that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I liken humanity to a baby. So if you take the baby as a metaphor, humanity right now, we're crawling. Okay? But humanity eventually will try to stand up. So humanity will crawl to the edge of a table, and we will pull ourselves up, and we'll stand up, and we'll be cheering. Oh my God, look what we've been able to accomplish. We're doing so great. And then we'll take one step and we'll fall. Boom. And we'll cry like hell. Right. And that cry is going to be like, oh my God, I thought we made it, but we didn't. And we fell, and screaming and crying and everything else. And then we'll realize, wait a minute, it's not that bad. We'll go back to the edge of the table and pull ourselves up again.
Yes.
And then we'll take a few more steps. And the second time we fall, It'll be after a few steps, we won't cry as much. We'll be a little shocked and we'll be a little pissed, but we'll crawl back to the edge of the table again, pull ourselves up and walk even further. So it's this process of learning how to walk. And the definition of walking is controlling your fall. And once humanity begins to learn how to control its fall, I believe then it's going to be open communication and a seat at the table with the others, these NHIs that have been visiting us for a very long time.